Hi, this is Dinner with Dana. It's getting towards the end of harvest season, and my dad had given me some peppers that he's grown, onions. He grows really beautiful onions. I have a few tomatoes that are left over. So I'm putting this all together in a spicy pork and pepper stew that will be made in the Instapot. So I just wanted to show you all this beautiful produce before I start chopping, and then I'll come back after I've chopped most of it and tell you what I was doing and get you kind of caught up on where we are and how to make it. So, welcome back. I've chopped those peppers, so I have red and green peppers. I chopped up that onion into cubes. And I have about a cup, a little bit more of chopped tomato. I also had a pork loin. Now, pork loin goes on sale a lot, and so I use a lot of recipes with it. But if you have a variety of seasonings, you can take the same meat that's on sale, like it was on sale 2 weeks ago, it's on sale this week. Don't always have the same thing. If you can mix up the seasonings, you can certainly change the flavor profile of that. So I'm just going to chop this into some big chunks. And I'm using a fillet knife. Now this is a very sharp knife, so I can just run it through. There is an important difference between knives, and so I always say I don't like to do dishes, so I don't like to dirty more things than I need to. But I definitely do dirty knives. So this is a chef's knife. It's good for rocking back and forth, cutting up my vegetables. It doesn't work well on a tomato though, because the tomato is too soft and you'll smash the tomato. So you need a serrated knife for a tomato knife. And then to do meat, you want to make sure and have a nice sharp fillet knife as you pull across that it cuts through. I have, while I've been cutting this, let my Instapot be on simmer. It's smoking hot, so my pork's gonna go in there. And it's on saute. So it's gonna go in there and brown up for me. It's always a nice step to do. If you don't do it, it's fine. Your pork will still turn out. It will just be kind of grayish instead of more brown. So while that's sauteing in there and getting going, I'll tell you what else we're putting in. So we're going to put in some minced garlic. I'm cheating here. Oh, there's a piece right there. So I'm cheating here with my minced garlic. I go through enough of it that this will never be in the refrigerator too long. It's really a lot though. If you don't use a lot of garlic, use fresh with a press, or buy a smaller jar. Or you can even just, if you don't have a garlic press, you can just chop it. Just cut it and chop it. It'll smell really good. Keep the vampires away. Had a little bit of pork juice there. So you want to make sure you're watching where your meat juices are going, and never put raw meat on a cutting board and then use vegetables on it. You're going to contaminate that way. So we're getting a quick brown on all this pork. The pork was, I took the whole pork loin, it was almost 9 pounds. So this is going to be about 4.5 pounds of meat. So it's going to make a lot of stew. Gosh, I lost where I was going with that. So I'm using this, that was just half. I'm going to use the other half later, do something else with that. But this one I thought would be great for just cutting up into chunks. There is a difference in the side of the pork loin. One's a more redder meat, one's a whiter meat. I chose to use the chunk one with the whiter meat, and I'm going to use the other one in a roast, and that darker side is going to have more flavor, so we want to do that. The other thing is I'm using my Instapot. My Instapot might be a little bit bigger than yours. I have a 14 quart. Generally they come 6 quart, and the standard ones that maybe you have. It should still fit in there. Everything we're putting in there should still fit regardless. And it just takes a while to brown that much meat. So I'm going to go ahead and start measuring out my seasonings. And since this isn't quite ready, I'll measure them in a bowl to give you the amounts. So we're going to do a tablespoonful of cumin. Now, cumin is one of those things where if you don't have a lot of spices, you probably don't have cumin. But if you like a Mexican flavor and you're like, I can't ever get quite there, you might be missing this. Even if you buy a small Tones cheap one, so you just have a bunch of different flavor profiles, that's a really good idea, at least to start out with. Don't go buy this much if you don't think you're going to use a lot. Just try it out. But get yourself a variety of spices. We're going to put in a teaspoon of chili powder. I don't have just oregano, and since I don't have just oregano that it calls for, I'm going to put in my Italian seasoning. It won't taste like Italian though because of all the other seasonings. And then I need that was a half a teaspoon. I need a half a teaspoon of onion powder. So that's my seasoning mix. I'm taking cumin, chili powder, Italian seasoning, onion powder. We're going to put that garlic in there. That's all going to come together for a wonderful flavor. Let's see how our chicken's doing and if we can add in everything else. After I get it brown, which is almost, and in fact, it's close. So after I get it all browned up, I'm just going to put everything else in. So in go my onions and my peppers. Now these are kind of thin, so the skin's a little thick. That's why doing these peppers in a pressure cooker will be good, because under that pressure should soften that up a lot better than if I was trying to do it quickly, maybe on the stove. My tomatoes. Tomato paste calls for 3 tablespoons, and there's 2 tablespoons per serving size and 5 servings. So we're going to have, you guessed it, 10 tablespoons in here. So I'm just going to scoop out the top third. We're going to use that. I could measure it, but trying to scoop it out of this, it just gets a little difficult. So I tend to do math and figure it out in my head. So we have that. Oh, we also need some bouillon. So we're going to do 2 cups. This is still dry. It's not clean, but it's dry. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my bouillon. I'm going to put in 2 cups of water. So I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of bouillon for that water. It could be beef or it could be chicken, because there's not a pork bouillon that I know of or that I've ever seen. So we're going to 2 cups of water to that, a little salt. We tend to forget to do the salt correctly. It may look like a lot, but first of all, it's sea salt, and that was a lot of pork, so we do need some salt in there, and some fresh pepper. I can't forget my garlic. That would be really sad. We are a family of garlic lovers. So I just heated up some olive oil in there, a couple, just enough to cover the bottom. It says 4 cloves. Now that's going to be about 4 cloves. And I'm going to throw in more because I love garlic. So we got that, and finally we have that little spice mixture we put all together. Just smells so yummy. Get all that out of there, all that goodness. So now we are almost done. I'm going to stir this all in. Get my spoon back. All that off of it. And stir this all in together. Since I browned my pork, I got my peppers, my onions, my tomatoes. Give that a good stir. Get the tomato paste kind of broken up in there. Already smells good. Pressure cooker lid would help. Now, if you haven't used a pressure cooker, there's really no reason to be scared of them. In the past, when you had ones on the stove, they could get to maybe too high a pressure, and I've heard of those stories where they blew up in the kitchen. These are all electronic. It's not going to happen. You can't open it if it's too hot. So I just canceled the simmer. I'm going to make sure it's on pressure, so you have to make sure your pressure gauge is there. And then we are going to cook on high. This is going to go for 45 minutes. So I'm just going to set my 45-minute timer. I'm getting close, so I'll slow down. So 45 minutes. It will take longer, okay? So it needs to come to pressure, which will take maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Then it needs to cook the 45 minutes, and then it needs to release pressure naturally just to keep all those juices in. This one anyway. Some of them are instant release, and you just, as soon as it's done cooking. But this one you're going to want to let it sit and do a natural release, so all those flavors meld together. It's going to be delicious. I'll show you a picture when we're done. But yeah, really simple and quick, and something to throw in your Instapot and get done within, you know, I suppose overall prep time, cook time, it probably is going to take 2 hours total. But I could have prepped this all together and thrown it in there and turned it on when I got home from work, and then just let it go for the 45 minutes, so it'd be ready in an hour. The prep probably took me 15-20 minutes. So, but still going to be a lot quicker than doing it on the stove or in the oven. So I'll give you a look at and see what it is, what it looks like when it's done, and we'll talk to you soon. Hey, welcome back. I've been just waiting for my Instapot to get done with our pork and pepper stew. Now I have made some Spanish rice, and so our pork and pepper stew smells so good. And all I'm going to do is ladle some of it. Let me give you a shot of what it looks like. I'm just going to ladle some of that beautiful red and green right over the top. Maybe add a little extra broth in there over the rice. It smells so good. Now, it does have those Mexican flavors, so always nice to have a little, well, I should have probably shook that a little bit more. A little drizzled sour cream. I like it in a bottle like this. It's easy to put on things. A little bit of cilantro, and then, of course, top it off with a little lime. Cilantro, lime always adds a nice little finishing touch to any Mexican dish you're doing. So, there you have it. Instapot pork and pepper stew. It's great. It's not too hard to get set up. It does take about an hour in Instapot to complete. So just have that in your plans. Everything's moist and tender. Let me see how it tastes here. And hot. And the pork just falls apart in your mouth. So here's another recipe, quick, easy, inexpensive cut of meat. Way to use it to try a different flavor profile. So thanks for watching. Again, this is Dinner with Dana.